Good evening. We'll call this regular meeting of City Council to order for Monday, July 9th, 2012. I'll ask Council to consider the recommendation that the agenda for this regular Council meeting of July 9th, 2012 be adopted as circulated. Moved by Councillor Ashley, seconded by Councillor Rice. Is there any discussion? Question's been called. Those in favor? Thank you. That motion is adopted. I'll ask Council's consideration of minutes. There's three sets there. Pardon me, there's four sets there, 2 to be adopted and 2 to be received. The first comes with a recommendation that the minutes of the special committee of the whole meeting of July 18th, 2012 be received. Pardon me, June. Thank you. What month was I in? July. It's been moved by Councillor Ashley, seconded by Councillor Garon. Is there any errors or omissions? Question's been called. Those in favor? Thank you. Those minutes are received. Next are the minutes of a special council meeting of June 25th, 2012, and the recommendation is that they be adopted. Moved by Councillor Ashley, seconded by Councillor Carlick-Pearson. Any errors or omissions? Question's been called. Those in favor? Thank you. Those minutes are adopted. Next are the minutes of the regular council meeting of June 25th, 2012, with the recommendation that they be adopted. Moved by Councillor Garon, seconded by Councillor Ashley. Are there any errors or omissions? Question's been called. Those in favor? Thank you. Those minutes are adopted. The last set of minutes are the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting of June 25th, 2012, and the recommendation is that they be received. Moved by Councillor Ashley, seconded by Councillor Garon. Are there any errors or omissions? Question's been called. Those in favor? Thank you. Those minutes are received. Next on the agenda are the petitions and delegations, and tonight there's a public consultation for the 2011 City's Annual Report. Mr. Roden, would you please give an overview of your report for people watching at home?
Certainly, Your Worship. This is the next stage of the annual report process, which is a process that's laid out in the community charter. Every year the city has to compile a certain amount of information. The specific information, again, is in the community charter. There's an excerpt of the portion of the charter in the report. Essentially what we do is we basically report on how successful we were in meeting the objectives that we set for ourselves last year, plus anything else that we did that we thought was worthy of accomplishment, and also what objectives that we're setting for the following year. So in this report we have how well we did in 2011 and what our objectives are for 2012. There's also a report from the mayor, a brief biographical information from each council member, and a few other little odds and ends, financial statements, grants to organizations and permissive tax exemptions. And tonight the report was approved for council by circulation approximately 3.5 weeks ago, and tonight it's been made available to the public on our website and also at our customer service center. And tonight it's an opportunity for members of the public to comment on the report, ask questions, and thereafter, after which council may either approve the report or direct staff to make changes to the report, and if so, we would bring it back again for approval at a subsequent date.
Thank you. Are there any questions from members of the public concerning the city's 2011 annual report? Good evening. If either one of you would like to come forward. Certainly all welcome to ask questions as it pertains to the report, and the council allows each person asking questions 5 minutes. So if you'd like to go ahead and ask your questions when you're ready.
Is the questions 5 minutes or the answers 5 minutes? But anyway,
the total time is 5 minutes. You just use 30 seconds.
This is preliminary question.
Yes.
And it's more addressed to Dan Roden. IFRS, International Financial Reporting System, it came into effect in January 2012. So are we going to use it next year for these kind of reports?
Mr. Roden?
No, we're not. The international financial reporting standards don't apply to municipalities in the province of British Columbia.
I misread the thing.
Well, that's fine. Your next question?
The sort of screwed up the question I was going to ask because I take it that the City West is using that kind of reporting standard, because when I compared 2010 and what was in here, 2010 had been restated without really mentioning it. So all the things didn't add up. When you looked at it carefully, they all came back to City West. There was the differences. So that's sort of, that's what's happened? Have I read it right correctly? That we've restated 2010, the whole thing, and because of City West.
Right. City West is one of our separate legal entities. Mr. Roden?
Okay, Mr. Golden is correct if he's thinking that the City West does report under those international financial recording standards. They do. The city does not. What happened in 2010 is that the City West reported under the old standards. In 2011, they reported under the new standards so that people could compare their 2010 to their 2011 operating results. They had to restate their 2010, and accordingly, we had to restate a few things in our financial statements also.
Which was, when the port did this, they gave a dual column, so you could sort of, you wasn't thinking there was some sort of mistake. You could see one column was this and one column was the restatement. So I think when I was comparing it, I did perhaps see one mistake. So the trades payable on, who knows? It's hard to see without, I have reading glasses. But when I compared the numbers, it was like $250,000 difference between what was given here and what was on the 2010. So I'll bring it to notice later on. But going into the annual statements in more
So just on that. So you think there's a discrepancy of $250,000?
Who knows? You know, if trades payable is attributable to.
So your point is, if there was a comparative figures, it would be easier.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And it wouldn't. You know, it would just we'd
All right.
immediately spot it. That was the one that came closest to mine. Or the other thing I wanted to do is from the perspective is I'd like to see us get into more measurable things. And so if we wanted to reduce our greenhouse gases, one ways we could do that is by reducing our reliance upon energy. Therefore, but if we're giving our terms of energy and just the amount of money we spent, then you can't see anything because the price of gas could have gone up or down or whatever. So if we could put more quantifiable, more measurable. So we got this many gallons of diesel, we got this many gallons. So then we could begin to see if we're actually giving lip service to reducing greenhouse gases or measurably reducing greenhouse gases.
Okay, thank you.
Can I save my other 2 minutes and let him go?
Mr. Hale, you had some questions, sir. Good evening, and again, happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm Alan Hale from the Northern View newspaper, just in case anybody at home doesn't know.
We understand there have been some near imposters in town, but we believe you.
All right. Well, I just have a few of the 2012 goals have stuck out for me, and I was just hoping to get a little bit of clarification on some of them. I'll try to be very quick, not drag it out. Where did everything go? All right. It says here under development services that we're going to review the requirements for a proposed new emergency services building. What does that mean? Are we going to try to make it less ambitious, or what does that mean?
Mr. Roden.
Certainly, Your Worship. That's the process that we're undergoing right now with the whole public, the 5 meetings committee of the whole meetings that we've had with the public, and there'll be a report coming forward this fall. So that's just referencing that whole process that we've been going through since early this spring.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering if we were going to be changing what we thought the requirements were. Under corporate administration, it says engage the Prince Rupert Port Authority to discuss what urban waterfront development might look in the future. Has any work been done to this effect yet? I've been getting conflicting accounts from different people on where that is.
Mr. Howie?
Your Worship, the City Council has approved, and we've undertaken a process of public consultation regarding and information meetings regarding the waterfront east of Quinitza Station around Seal Cove all the way out to Galway Rapids Bridge. And we've also, at a staff level, been in discussions with the port about their intentions west of the lightering dock or the Quinitza Station.
All right, thank you. Under information technology, it says start replacing old phone system with new voice over internet protocol. Is that a cost-saving measure or a modernization thing? What is that?
It's both. The phones we have currently are very old, and they're becoming more and more problematic to maintain. Also, voice over internet protocol will allow us savings in long distance.
Under fire and rescue, it says that we've deferred replacing the firefighter turnout gear until this year. Why did we do that?
Money.
Just as simple as that?
Just about as simple as that.
Are we going to have more money for it this year?
It's budgeted for this year.
Under the police section, there are 2 anti-gang initiatives here. Didn't realize that that we had a gang problem in town. Is that what we should take away from this?
No, what you should take away from that is that we do everything we can to prevent having gangs, and the RCMP has put forward a program for council to consider, and council considered it during the budget deliberations. That's not to say that there isn't a potential for gangs. There is everywhere.
Under Public Works, it says sell equipment that has exhausted its useful life. Where do we sell that equipment to? Private contractors, or I don't know.
Mr. Roden.
We contact people. Sometimes we advertise it in the paper. We also use an equipment broker who I believe is located in Prince George.
Under water utility, it says prepare a dam emergency response plan. Do we not have one now?
The Ministry of Environment, Water Branch, Dams section, I think I got that right. Basically what they did a couple of years ago is they changed the rules a bit on what they call a high-risk dam. There's 4 categories of dam. We have a number of dams which are high risk due to what would happen if they would fail. They've now required that new plans be prepared within a certain number. I think the requirement is that the dam, it has to be either completed by the end of 2013 or substantially completed by the end of 2013.
Does this have anything to do with I can't remember what the dam's name is, but it came up during the emergency building meetings that we have a dam that supplies the water to town that is rated as being fair structurally. Is this a plan about that dam, or?
It's the dam on page 39. Yes, you're correct. It's that dam.
That's all I marked down for myself, so I guess I'm done. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll ask council to consider the report from the Chief Financial Officer, and this is regarding the approval of the city's 2011 annual report. It comes with a recommendation that council, by resolution, having heard the comments of the public, either approve the 2011 annual report or provide direction to staff regarding amendments that council wishes to make to the 2011 annual report. Councillor Thorkelson.
Well, I think that every year I seem to say this, but these reports have been getting much, over the 8 years I've been on council, these reports have been really getting better every year. And I find this really easy to read. So except I would ask that, because I do have a copy at home written on regular paper, it is hard to read these audited financial statements. Are just blurry, and I don't know if we can improve the printing quality. If you just get them printed on regular paper, like our other ones, like the first draft we had, they're fine. But these are hard to read. That's all. And pictures are beautiful in here, though, certainly. And I like the strategic plan objectives. I know people at home probably don't know what the city's annual plan looks like, and they should go online. I imagine it's online, or come down to the city to get one. But it talks about what our 2011 strategic plan was, the scorecard on how we did regarding our strategic plan, and then what our 2012 strategic plan is on the same topics. And I think that people wonder what the city does, but when you have a look at, there's some larger policy items, but there are so many other items that were part of the strategic plan, such as complete the building bylaw, which nobody is going to think is very exciting outside of Mr. Krekic, but it's a really important piece of work that we've accomplished within the city, and it's part of the thing that keeps the city running. So, all the way from doing that, finish roof repairs and the public works yard building, and all the way through to larger and more policy kinds of issues. And I think it's really important that people have a look and see what their city does. People like to ask, what is City Council doing? And lots of it is just the business of the city. It's just strictly the business for the corporation of the city. It's not it's not the big policy issues. So I just wanted to point that out, because I think that's really important, and we like to thank the staff and all of the city workers for making for doing such a good job, making sure the degree of success completed. 6 installed during the year, completed. Section 4 and 5 completed, ongoing. That's our scorecard on roads. And so I think that, that's important to see, that it's not just all potholes out there, but there's many things that the city has been doing with our infrastructure and looking after it and maintaining it as best we can, even though we still don't have a lot of the industry that we are hoping for in the future. We've still been looking after the infrastructure that we have as best we can.
Thank you. Councillor Ashley.
I'll move that Council, by resolution, approve the 2011 annual report.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Carlick-Pearson. Is there any further discussion? Question's been called. Those in favor? Thank you. That recommendation is adopted. The next item on the agenda is a report from the city planner. This concerns an application for a development variance permit at 1083 Ambrose Avenue. There's a recommendation that the development variance permit application number DP-12-09 for 1083 Ambrose Avenue be approved. Mr. Krekic, would you like to outline your report, please? Good evening.
Thank you, Your Worship. While I recall these two slides for the presentation. I just may add that wait until we bring the subdivision control bylaw to the table. Councillor Torkelson, it's going to be party time. This application was before council at the last meeting, at which time it was approved to proceed to public consultation, which was done, and to date we haven't received any comments other than one which was handled at the desk, and it was relating to a slide, which is the new slide on in your package. And essentially, this slide is the guts of the development variance permit. This is the property in question. The pink line, which I'm trying to follow with the cursor, is the outline of the current house. The dotted line, which is in black, is the extent of the encroachment. It is 7 feet, therefore leaving 3 feet as the backyard. And as I noted in our last meeting, there is sanitary sewer that's in the back in the lane, and it is substantially away from the house, and the property owner is aware of it. This is a new built infill. It's in a built area, and there is very little intrusion that such approval of such variance would provide, as very little will happen in the back of that property. There are no cost or budget impact on the city from granting or not granting the variance, and as there were no objections that would prevent this application, my recommendation is to proceed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll ask Council's consideration of the recommendation. Councillor Rice? Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Ashley, and that would be that the development variance permit be approved. Is there any further discussion? Question's been called. Those in favor? Thank you. That motion is adopted. Thank you, Mr. Krekic.
Thank you.
Then next is a report from the Chief Financial Officer, and this concerns the month of May 2012 Department Report. It comes with a recommendation that Council receive this report for information purposes. Mr. Roden, would you please outline your report for the month of May?
Certainly, Your Worship. This is, as I say every month, it's a snapshot. It's not the fully accrued financial statements. Overall, we're looking pretty good. Ferry revenue is down a bit from last year, but this was identified in the budget making process, and although the vehicle traffic is down, flight passenger revenue is up, so it's almost getting to be a wash, and we're anticipating that as time goes on, it will continue to improve. Similarly, development services revenue is down, but then we're no longer renting space to the Skeena Queen Charlotte Regional District, and the value of building and plumbing permits is also down. Last year there was one permit which was quite significant. I think it was around $8,000 or $9,000, and that had a tendency to skew our results. Similarly, fiscal revenue, 84% of the revenue remains uncollected, but that's normal for our experience at this time of year. A lot of that revenue has to do with payments in lieu of taxes and grants in lieu of taxes, and the provincial and federal entities do not issue those checks until the second half of the year. The utility budgets, revenues and expenditures are on target for this time of year, and our capital works are now starting the financial plan being approved finally in May. The capital works and capital purchases expenditures are now being made, and there's a few projects from 2011 that are continuing to be finished off in 2012. That concludes my report.
Thank you. I'll ask Council's consideration of the recommendation. Councillor Ashley?
I'll move that Council receives the report for information purposes.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Giron. Is there any discussion with regards to the motion? Question has been called. Those in favor? Thank you. That motion is adopted. Next is a report from the Chief Financial Officer. This is regarding the Sugar Shack grant request. comes with a recommendation that Council deny the request of the Association of Francophones to receive an increase in its previously approved grant of $500, and that Council confirm that except in situations of emergent circumstances that Council will not ordinarily contemplate approving grants to community groups outside of the regular scheduled annual process. I'll ask Council's Mr. Roden, have you got anything to add to that report?
No, I don't, Your Worship. I looked at it from 3 different angles, and I couldn't find anything that, to my mind, that justified approving the additional grant.
Certainly. Thank you. I'll ask Council's consideration of the recommendation. Yes?
I'm just wondering if anybody knows on the budget sheet that's on page 37 what PCH means in the revenue. Under the revenue for proposed Sugar Shack budget 2012, it says PCH 20,000. I'm assuming that's
the federal government grant.
Councillor Ashley.
So then my second question, because I did notice that in the report it said that there was a surplus in their budget of something like $13,000, but it doesn't seem to be part of the budget proposed. So I'm just wondering if I could find out something about
Certainly.
that.
Mr. Roden?
The budget that they supplied the city when they made their application is only their Sugar Shack budget. Okay, they hold a number of events across the region, and in Prince Rupert they hold the Sugar Shack. When they supplied their unaudited financial statements at the same time that they applied for the grant, which is attached as page 38, it shows that they have a surplus of around $13,000 coming into 2012, and so it seemed reasonable to me that perhaps they could pick up the shortfall out of that surplus rather than coming back to the city for an additional funds.
Right. Thank you. Council's original grant decision was on the $500. Councillor Thorkelson.
I'll move the motion that we deny the association's request.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Guerin.
Your Worship,
Councillor Thorkelson.
Yeah, and the reason I do this is because I think that it is fair when organizations come to talk to us about why they need money. We listen during the whole grant process, and then we decide to make grants, and based on what we hear and based on what the financial circumstances of the groups are and what their contribution is to the community. And I certainly don't think that the Sugar Shack makes a small contribution to the community. It's a wonderful process they do. They're supporting French immersion. I see there's a grant to Roosevelt School here for Roosevelt Carnival. And but I do think that we have to be fair, and I don't think that one group coming in and asking us when we've already made a decision, asking us halfway through the year for more money is fair, and I think it will just encourage other groups to do that. And we've had discussion here on whether we should try to do multi-year funding, or trying to make it easier for people to budget, because these are nonprofits and they are trying to figure out how to make budgets and make things work for themselves. The one thing I was concerned about was the AFFN's what they told us was that they needed to show the support of the city, and that needed to be by the leasing of the or by us giving to them the public place for them to have to have their functions, and that was the support that they wanted to get from the city. And I think that if it helps them, we could certainly write a letter saying, our city supports them. The city is showing their financial support by giving a donation of whatever it is we decide to give, and that we're happy to have the event in our community, but this is the limit of our financial resources at present, so that they are able to show the federal government that there is community support, but our community can only support them so much. So that's why. And so I would be prepared if that's what they need to, when they come next time, to make sure that we do show are eager to write a letter of support to say that our community as a whole supports.
After consideration of this motion, you could make that as a motion, and that offer could be extended to them if they so wish. Councillor Rice.
That was exactly what I was going to say, was that after this motion, I would like to make that motion that we do write a letter of support, so it assists them in getting funding from other sources.
Certainly. Thank you. Are there any other comments with regards to this motion from members of council? Councillor Ashley.
Yeah, I thought a lot about this, and I am in favor of the recommendation. I do understand the group coming forward, and there were some issues because it was so early in the year and we hadn't made our budget deliberations finalized yet, etc. But I think it is important that we act fairly, and we reduced other people's grants based on a number of different criteria that we spent time talking about. And I agree with everyone else that it's a very worthwhile organization. It does a lot of good for the community, but I think we have to hold our ground here. And the thing that really kind of tipped it for me is that there is money in a surplus that I was not aware of, and I think that should be able to cover their costs. And I really like the idea of sending a letter. I think that's an excellent idea, so I would be in favor of that as well.
Thank you. Is there any further comments? If not, I'll call for the question. Question has been called. Those in favor? Thank you. Councillor Rice, would you like to make the second motion?
So I think I understand that they applied for $1,000 and we accepted a grant of $500 for them. So I think the gist of the letter could explain that while we are in great support of this service that they provide for our community, that due to our financial situation, we're only able to provide a grant of X amount, which I think is $500, but that we just reiterate the valuable contribution that they make to the community of Prince Rupert and to the Northwest in general.
Thank you. Is there a seconder to that? Seconded by Councillor Carlick-Pearson. Is there any discussion? Councillor Guerin.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a concern, I think we're jumping the gun. We're really approving their grant already for next year by writing that letter. Is that what we're doing?
No, we're not. We're just saying that we support it. However, we're only able to support it to the tune of $500 in the 2012 year.
If we approve their grant. Or if, no, but this is for next year.
No, it's not. It's just a letter showing that we support the event. However, we're only able to support it in the amount of so much for 2012. Councillor Ashley.
Okay, because I was having concerns along the same line. I absolutely agree with sending the letter. I had a concern about the number, but if it's just for this year, then I'm okay with 500. I guess the other thing I would be thinking there is that if there is going to, this is near the end, like their function is at the beginning of the year, right? And we often don't do our budget deliberations until a little bit later. And I remember them talking to us about the fact that when they put in their application, they have to show that there's support, which means that we may end up having to write another letter down the road, which may be the case. So I didn't know if we wanted to consider that separately or how people were feeling. Maybe it's best to do it this way, and then maybe when we let the Sugar Shack people know about our decision, maybe we could ask them that if they needed a letter of support in the future, that they could ask us for one.
The original intention, although not mentioned by Councillor Rice, was to offer a letter of support.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but what I mean is that we support the activity, but we are limited in our financial ability. In this one, it's specifically to this year's event, so that hopefully that, you know, they will understand that when they submit all of their forms for their whatever it is. But I'm just saying in the future, if they're applying for a grant next year, which we don't know what we're approving and what we're not, that if they need a letter of support because we can't provide the whole in-kind or we haven't decided that maybe we just tell them that they should ask us for a letter earlier. That's all I'm saying.
Certainly. Nothing further. Councillor Rice?
I just want to make sure that it's clarified with Mr. Grodecki that the intent of the motion that I'm making is in reference to the application, the grant application that has already been applied for and approved. We approved $500. They applied for 1,000. I know they applied for 1,000, but I'm fairly confident that we approved 500.
That's true, and your motion does pertain to the 2012 year.
Exactly. And then just as a further comment, that my making this motion does not mean that I necessarily am guaranteeing this grantee any financial support for next year. It could be less than 500. It could be $0.
That's not necessary.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Question's been called. Those in favor? Thank you. That motion is adopted. Next is under correspondence for action, a letter from the Friendship House, and it's a request for a letter of support for Planet Youth. And it comes with a recommendation that Council write a letter of support to the Prime Minister reinforcing the importance of Planet Youth in our community. Councillor Thorkelson.
I move that we comply with the request.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Rice. Is there any discussion? Councillor Carlick-Pearson.
Just a comment. I think it's a very valuable service that the Friendship House does provide and keeps our kids occupied and out of trouble. So very happy to be able to assist with this with them, because I know that the Friendship House has had some tremendous cutbacks in the past year, which for the city of Prince Rupert is really beneficial for us to have them, because it keeps our kids out of trouble, and we need more programs such as the Friendship House Planet Youth program.
Thank you. Is there anything further? Question's been called. Those in favor? Thank you. That recommendation is adopted. Under report, City Manager, Outstanding Council Initiatives, Mr. Howie.
Your Worship, I'll provide my written report at the next meeting, but I just wanted to mention that the paving crews have been able to get out and do a fair number of significantly raveled areas, particularly on First Avenue and down around Hayes Cove Circle, and so they'll be continuing to do that. The major public works project this year, as you know, is 9th Avenue East, and that's coming along. It's on schedule. It's a long schedule because of the complexity and the number of pipes there and the number of connections.
Thank you. We'll move on to reports, questions, and inquiries from members of council. Councillor Thorkelson.
Yes, it's just a question, and then if I plan to make a motion if I receive a positive answer. When we were at the last committee of the whole meeting regarding what kind of land that was available for the fire hall and police station, and we looked at a bunch of land, some land that the city owned, and we looked at we considered really in a kind of futuristic kind of a manner some land that we don't own, and it was really people start speculating about what spots that the city could purchase and what the price may be, and at that meeting I was wondering, I wondered out loud if we could perhaps put a letter out to people in town asking for expressions of interest on pieces of private property to see if they would be willing to sell to the city pieces of property and what price they would charge, so that we at least have a better idea if there are alternatives to what we are really looking at. Mostly is leaning towards the Four Corners. So if that is if that's something that is possible and is something that we should be doing at this time, I intend to make that a motion.
Mr. Howie.
Your Worship, as a follow-up to that meeting, we actually ran an advertisement in the newspaper asking for expressions of interest, and we've on a confidential basis, and we've received 3 so far.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Howie. I guess I should read Allen Hill's newspaper more often. Eh?
Well, maybe just the advertisements. Are there any other reports, questions, and inquiries from members of council? If not, I'll give the mayor's report. I met with the president of the Western Transportation Advisory Council, who was in Kitimat and Prince Rupert, touring port facilities and meeting with representatives of member organizations. I attended a gathering at the Friendship House to acknowledge volunteers who had participated in the Planet Youth program operations. People may have heard that the Planet Youth program is now expired, although there is some hope, of course, to continue it on at a future time. I attended the Waterfront East Land Use Plan Open House held at City Hall on Thursday, June 28, 2012, to see residents' suggestions for waterfront land uses, and those were put on a map of the particular area so that they form the basis of suggestions going forward. Participated in Prince Rupert's July 1st Celebrate Canada Day event hosted by the Prince Rupert Special Events Society and its volunteers, and provided a greeting on behalf of Prince Rupert City Council. And a city delegation participated in the 4th of July celebration with our sister community of Greater Ketchikan, and subsequently toured their community facilities and received presentations. The delegation also toured the community of Saxman and their proposed seaport area, and members of council that were present were Councillor Ashley and Councillor Rice. And it's very interesting to go up there and meet with them and to find out how their community functions, what their priorities are. And it's interesting to note that they, going forward, while there are traditional methods or entrenched methods of shipping in and out of Alaska, that there is consideration for the use of Prince Rupert going forward when volumes of certain products increase over time. But on the whole, I think it was a very good visit, and I think there is consideration going forward to possibly again get together with them next year, possibly here or possibly there. If there is nothing further, I'll ask council for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Ashley, seconded by Councillor Garand. Is there any discussion? Question's been called. Those in favor? Thank you. This council meeting stands adjourned.